A golden cage in a changing world. Imagine being sentenced to spend the rest of your life inside a luxury hotel, while just outside the windows, one of the most violent and transformative revolutions in human history reshapes your country. In 1922, Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov, an unrepentant aristocrat, connoisseur of fine wines and master of etiquette, is hauled before a Bolshevik tribunal. His crime? Being born an aristocrat. While most of his peers face the firing squad, Rostov is spared due to a revolutionary poem attributed to his name. Instead of execution, he is sentenced to life imprisonment inside the Hotel Metropol, a grand luxury establishment located just steps from the Kremlin. The catch? If he ever sets foot outside the hotel doors, he will be shot on sight. Stripped of his vast wealth and moved from his luxurious suite into a dusty, cramped attic room, the Count faces a profound question. When a man is stripped of everything and confined to a single building, how does he find purpose? What follows is not a story of despair, but a beautifully crafted, heartwarming testament to the human spirit. Over the course of 3 decades, Count Rostov proves that while the state can control where he lives, they cannot control how he lives. Part 1. The New Reality, the 1920s. Stripped of luxuries, gaining perspective. The novel opens with Count Rostov adjusting to his drastic change in circumstances. He goes from a life of boundless leisure to living in a tiny bedroom on the 6th floor of the Metropol, a space formerly used for servants' quarters. He is forced to leave behind most of his beloved possessions, keeping only a few meaningful items: a portrait of his sister, Helena, a collection of books, and a hidden stash of gold coins hidden inside the hollow legs of his grandfather's desk. Rather than succumbing to depression, Rostov relies on a personal philosophy passed down by his father. If a man does not master his circumstances, then he is bound to be mastered by them. Unexpected friendships. Nina Kulikova. The Count's static world is cracked wide open by Nina Kulikova, an inquisitive 9-year-old girl staying at the hotel. Nina wears a bright yellow dress and is obsessed with the mechanics of the hotel, engineering, and the concepts of the new Soviet state. Nina possesses a magical passkey that opens every door in the Metropol. Together, she and the Count explore the secret architecture of the building, from the crawl spaces above the grand ballroom to the hidden pantries and boiler rooms. Through Nina's eyes, Rostov stops viewing the hotel as a prison and starts seeing it as a vibrant, self-contained ecosystem. The triumvirate of the Metropol. As the years pass, the Count integrates himself into the daily operations of the hotel. He forms a close-knit alliance, nicknamed the Triumvirate, with 2 other employees. 1. Andrei, the master maitre d' of the Boyarsky, the hotel's fine dining restaurant. 2. Emil, the brilliant, hot-tempered head chef. Together, these 3 men preserve the art of classical European dining and hospitality in an era where the Soviet government is trying to erase all traces of bourgeois culture. Part 2. The Changing Tides, the 1930s. The erasure of culture and the rise of the bishop. The outside world increasingly bleeds into the Metropol. The Bolsheviks begin enforcing strict equality, which leads to absurd regulations. In a famous scene, a low-ranking bureaucrat demands that the labels be stripped from all bottles in the hotel's vast wine cellar because having premium wines goes against the concept of a classless society. From then on, the Count must order wine blindly, based only on whether it is red or white. This bureaucratic oppression is personified by Lepiev, an ambitious, sycophantic waiter nicknamed the Bishop. The Bishop despises the Count's effortless aristocratic grace and represents the cold, rigid nature of the Soviet regime. Eventually, the Bishop rises through the ranks to become the hotel manager, constantly trying to trap or humiliate Rostov. Love and loss. During this decade, the Count begins a passionate, long-running love affair with Anna Urbanova, a glamorous but aging film actress. Anna's career fluctuates wildly based on whether her films please the unpredictable Soviet censors. Their relationship provides the Count with romantic intimacy and mutual emotional support as they both navigate the anxieties of aging under a totalitarian regime. Meanwhile, his childhood friend, Mishka, Mikhail Mindich, a passionate poet who initially supported the revolution, begins to see his ideals crushed by censorship. Mishka's gradual disillusionment serves as a tragic window into the brutal reality of Stalinist Russia outside the hotel walls. Part 3. A Father's Purpose, the 1940s. The return of Nina and Sofia. In the late 1930s, Nina returns to the Metropol as a young woman. She has married a man who was arrested and sentenced to hard labor in Siberia. Desperate to follow him and try to secure his release, Nina begs the Count to look after her young daughter, Sofia, for a few weeks. Nina leaves, but she never returns. The Count suddenly finds himself the adoptive father of a young girl, raising a prodigy. Caring for Sofia transforms the Count's life completely. His focus shifts from personal survival to ensuring Sofia thrives. He teaches her manners, history, and literature, while the entire hotel staff steps up as an extended family to protect and raise her. Sofia proves to be an extraordinarily talented child, showing a natural genius for the piano. As she grows into a young woman, her musical talent earns her recognition from the state, opening up opportunities that the confined Count could never experience himself. Part 4. The Grand Design, the 1950s. The high stakes. By the early 1950s, Stalin has died, and the Soviet Union is entering a new political era under Khrushchev. Sofia, now a brilliant young classical pianist, is selected to represent the USSR at a high-profile musical showcase in Paris. The Count realizes this is Sofia's only chance to escape the restrictive confines of the Soviet state and live a truly free life. However, if she defects in Paris, the consequences for the Count back in Moscow will be severe, likely resulting in his execution or exile to a gulag. The escape plan. Rostov spends years quietly observing the hotel guests, including high-ranking Soviet officials and foreign journalists. He befriends an American officer named Richard Vanderweil, teaching him the nuances of Russian politics over drinks. Using his decades of accumulated knowledge, his secret stash of gold coins, and his network of loyal friends within the Metropol, the Count constructs a flawless, highly intricate clockwork plan. While Sofia is performing in Paris, she follows her father's precise instructions to slip away from her handlers and seek asylum at the American embassy. Simultaneously, back in Moscow, the Count executes a brilliant diversionary tactic, orchestrating a chaotic event at the hotel that exposes the bishop's incompetence and cuts the telephone lines, preventing the authorities from reacting in time. The climax and ending, the ultimate masterstroke. As the dust settles, the KGB arrives at the Metropol to arrest the Count, only to find that he has completely vanished. Using an old architectural map given to him by Nina decades ago, Rostov escapes through a secret basement tunnel. He changes into ordinary peasant clothing, successfully blending into the Russian countryside for the first time in 32 years. The novel ends with a beautifully poetic scene. In a quiet, rural village far from the oppressive eyes of Moscow, the Count walks into a small tavern. Sitting by the window, waiting for him, is Anna Urbanova. The gentleman has finally left his cage, finding true freedom not in wealth or status, but in the love and family he built inside four walls.